Hello everybody. Yeah, I'm back on part 3 of this project now. I've shown you part 1 and part 2. Part 1 with introduction, then we dealt with part 2 where we put the spindle and made the bearing housings and the motor housings and the motor for my microscope drill press. I've shown you the sizes in the last video, and just in as example of scale, that's a standard spray can. Obviously I've put this motor on top and this housing since I shown you last video. Since I shown you last shot against this spray can, so it's not much bigger than a spray can with motor on. So what I'm going to cover on this part then, and hopefully this part might finish it off, maybe, I don't know. So we'll crack on. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to make a traverse handle for the motion of the drill, the rack and pinion. Now it originally came with 2 of these on when it was a microscope, but I didn't like look of that one on that side, so I'm going to leave this one on this side, but I'm going to make a proper drill type one for this side. And I've got a sketch here, show you how I'm going to do it. Now, like last time, you'll not see me machining or making parts, because like I said, it's not a lathe exercise or a drilling exercise or a milling exercise. It's just to show you how I've made it. So there's my sketch for me feed mechanism, my feed handle. So I'm going to use a bit of stock aluminium here, put 45-degree angle on it, and then put 3 equi-spaced holes in to accept 3 handles. And what I'm using for my handles is 2 BA screws, and then the bit of the thread that you can see, I'm putting a bit of heat shrink sleeving on just to make it look more tidy. So that's what I'll be using for the handles. So I'm going to go over to lathe now, and then with a bit of stock aluminium I'm going to make this handle and drill it to accept them screws. Okay then, I've been on my Myford lathe and I've made this little part for my handle. I've screwed those 2 BA screws in. I've disguised the thread with a bit of heat shrink tubing, and now that's ready for screwing on. I will Loctite this on eventually, but I'm just screwing it on tight for now. So now I've got my conventional drilling handle, if that's what you'd like to call it, for the traverse. Like so. So that's that completed. So now we'll move on to the new table which I'm going to make. Now if you remember, in my first video it just had this standard microscope type table on. It's upside down at the moment, but it's full of screws, but you get the gist. I wasn't really happy with that. A, because I can't adjust it, and B, because I just didn't like it. So I'm proposing to make one out of a bit of angle, some aluminium angle which I've got here. Well, I say I'm proposing to make it, I've actually made it. So this is what I used to make the table with, and here's my dimensions which I've worked to keep it in proportion. 50 by 50. I've put clamping slots in, excuse me, and I've just got to drill this hole now, and that's what it's going to look like. So as by magic it's over here, as you can see. I've just got to drill this little hole in, and then this is going to fit onto that there, and then that table is going to be movable and be able to tilt, because eventually that'll be chopped off there. So I'm just going to finish this off now and drill that hole, then we can fit that. Okay, then I've quickly been over to my drill press and I've finished this table off. I've now got that hole drilled, so now all it's a matter of doing is I've already drilled and tapped into the casting here a 2BA hole approximately 20mm deep, so I'm going to fit the table with a 2BA screw. Right, I just had to start that off camera because I can't coordinate looking through camera very well. So that's ready for tightening up now. I'll just nip that up for now. So there we go. So that's the table fitted now. So it's beginning to take shape and look like a drill now. And this table now can move down and up, and we'll be able to swivel at an angle once I've sawn this off. And I'm not sawing that off yet because I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing yet with that. So I've got my handle now fitted. Everything in the spindle's fitted with a motor. The table's fitted. So we can now go on to the next step. And the next step will be to drill, which I've already done. In fact, I think they was already in, I can't remember. I've drilled 2 holes in the base here. They're going to be my fixing holes to bolt it to a piece of oak timber that I've got, just a square of oak timber. So I've done them, and now I'm going to mark out 2 holes on the back and 1 on the back here. That's going to be the fixing holes for my switch, and this will be my fixing holes for my input socket for my power. So I'll mark them off and take them over to my drill and drill them. Right, holes drilled now, so they're my fixing holes for my switch, and that's my fixing hole where my socket's going to be for my power. And I'm proposing to use this switch here, which I already had on stock. It's just a simple rocker switch, and that's going to screw onto the back like so. So I'm going to screw that on with some 6BA countersunk bolts that'll go from underneath into the switch. I'll do that off camera. Okay, I've fitted my switch now. I did it off camera because with everything being so small, everything's fiddly, and you don't just want to be sat watching me screwing screws in that's difficult to get at. So I've put my switch on off camera. I've threaded the wires through the bottom, and they're going to go to me power socket. Then I've got these wires here which I've put spade connectors on and just put a bit of insulation around them to fit to my motor at top, and then we'll have a cap on top of motor just to hide everything. So my next job now then is to put one of these socket adapters into here and solder these wires on. I'll show you what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to do it off camera because it's a little bit fiddly. So that's going to be my power socket, inlet socket, and I'm going to solder these two wires on. They'll take power then to my switch, which will then in turn turn my motor on. So that's what I'm going to do now then, so just bear with me for a while. 5 or 10 minutes to me, a couple of seconds to you. Okay, I've soldered my wires onto my outlet socket now, and if you've not got a set of these extra helping hands, they're very useful when you're trying to do soldering. I'm sure you've seen them knocking around. So I've got my outlet, my power socket soldered on, so I now need to fit it through this hole in base. Then it wants a locking washer on, and then a locking nut. Just wants that tightening up, so I've got to get my pliers, or I've got them here. I think that's enough. And then them wires will just like neatly tuck away inside that base. Well, when I get a cable tie around them, they will. So that's my switch all connected up. So now then, I know which is live and I know which is negative on my wires. So the live one's going to go to this side of the motor. It don't really matter, it'll just go in reverse if you do it opposite way. And then negative goes to this side. Right. No, I'm just getting ahead of myself there. I've not put the cap on top. I'll just take them off for a minute. Just bear with me for a second. Right, you probably wonder why I've got a Lenore bottle in front of me. Well, there's a good reason for it. The cap on a Lenore bottle, by a stroke of luck, is the same diameter as the motor. So what I'm doing, to keep everything lightweight, because we're getting a bit top heavy now if we're not careful, this weighs nothing. I've cut a little slot into this Lenore bottle top, and that's going to go on top of the motor with my wires through, connected in. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, I've threaded my wires into my cap. I've put the wires onto the connections, and now I'm going to put the cap on. And I can slide that cap down as far as I can to the connections, like so. Right, so the only thing I've got to do now is get a couple of cable ties just to tidy this cable up into that position. So I'll just fetch a couple of cable ties, and just got one more cable tie to fit just around here, just to keep that cable tidy in position and in position. That's it, you just cut them off now. That's that. Right, not quite finished. So now I'm going to fasten it to a wooden base, which I've already made actually. I had a little bit of oak left over from another job, and they were just enough to make a base. So it'll now go onto this base. I found a couple of screws and some caps for them, and just got to make sure I miss these wires. Right, I'm just going to screw this to the base now. Right, we're not far off a test run now. Just a couple of things left to do. Now, I'm proposing to use a 12 volt transformer. I'm hoping that's going to be okay. It's a transformer I use for another item. So what I've done, a little tip for you here. The transformer had a socket on that didn't fit this socket which I had for this. It was a bit smaller. So I've got the inappropriate socket and I've spliced it into this wire with this one, so I can now use it for each item that I use it for, the transformer. So I've now got two sockets that I've spliced onto that cable, and then this socket here I think is for this one. That'll fit into that one like that. So I'll plug this into mains and then probably we're ready for a trial run. Just one more thing I forgot to do before I show it you. I've put a little screw here into the side just to accept these spanners, that one's for the chuck, one's for the spindle, just to keep them tidy on the side there, look. So I've put a drill in, so we're now ready for trial run. There you go then. Project successful. Just one other thing to do. There you go then. Put my name on it. That's to gear a sensor scale. That's a standard spray can, and the original microscope only came up to that. And don't forget I've put 3/4 of an inch base on it, so it's actually only that big. So don't forget it's only a micro drill, it's not for doing heavy duty work. Right then, I think that's that project complete now. I've managed to drill them 3 holes and it works okay. It's only for light duty work. Obviously it's a micro drill, but I think it's come out pretty well in proportion. And to say it were a scrap item, I think it's turned into something nice. That a microscope into a micro drill. Anyway, I think that's project complete now. So anyway, thanks for watching, and if you've not seen my other items which may have interest you, my other videos, take a look at them, and if not, I'll catch you next time. So thanks for watching then. Bye for now.